Hi everyone, Shirva Masala or Nikita and Anastasia. They're my good friends of how long, like 6 years? Yeah. We work together at a summer camp, or a summer camp. They are the creative directors. What's your job title?
We're gonna tell you.
Yeah, so they're gonna tell you what they do there, but basically they have kids have a lot of fun, they travel the world, making sure everyone else has a lot of fun, they go to Burning Man, which is cool, and have various cool business adventures. And yeah, without further ado.
Actually, yeah, in some way, Alex and Sveta are responsible for some of the projects that we're doing right now. So this is kind of exciting that it's all getting connected in a different way. And we're going to tell you how later on. But anyway, my name is Nikita, and
I'm Anastasia.
And what people call these days are digital nomads. Who heard this term before? All right, so not too many people. It's gonna be something new and exciting for you then. Yeah, basically we're gonna be talking about like the term itself and how it's working for us to travel around the world and doing things that we like. And it doesn't specifically apply to digital nomadism. You can basically do something like that without being a digital nomad as well. We're very excited to be in Boston too. We're here for a month. And Boston is probably one of the few places in the world that we visit regularly and every year, and we return to the same place because of one reason that we're going to tell you about later on as well. And I'm going to start with a little thing that we practice ourselves, and throughout today's meeting I'm going to be telling about some other tools that we're using for ourselves, and maybe some of these would be interesting for you that you can apply to your life as well. We'll see. The tool is called the check-in. Maybe some of you have used it and heard it before. It's basically expressing what you're feeling right now and where you're reflecting on something that is happening inside and outside. Yeah. So I'm very excited, first of all, to be here. I'm very excited to have all of you guys listening to what I'm about to say. A bit nervous because we did this lecture in Russian several times this year, but I've never done it in English before. So it's something new, and something all at the same time.
I feel present, and I'm very nervous. Before I was nervous because it was not enough people. Now it's a lot of people, so different vibe.
What's just the right number of people?
Yes.
Right. Let's proceed. We're gonna try to fit in 45 minutes and 15 minutes for questions.
So why we are someone that you guys probably can listen to.
Well, my mom would always say that it's not nice to brag, and I personally believe in it, but I also believe that it's important to share your achievements and inspire you, and it gives you, this push, those hormones to continue and to, grow bigger and do more stuff. So a little bragging here.
So we travel and we do seasonal business. We make Christmas ornaments. A lot of people don't even think that by selling Christmas ornaments you can make money. We make around $25,000 a month on selling Christmas ornaments. And though there's a little detail about it, we only work 3 months a year doing that. So basically right now is actually the busiest season for us because October, November, and December we work like 14 and 16 hours a day. But then the rest of 9 months are free, and we can basically travel and do other projects if we want to.
We have 5 locations of our project called Anastasia, 5 locations around the world, and it's a community and a co-living and co-working space.
We've been traveling for the past 8 years. It's not something that we started doing just like last year. Mostly non-stop, we've been traveling for the past 4 or 5 years. Not really coming back to Russia, which is our home country, and we're not really there anymore. We do a lot of projects. So except for the Christmas ornaments and the co-living space, we currently have around 15 projects running at the same time.
Nothing to be proud of.
Yeah, this is a little bit too much. It's actually, I mean, it drags a lot of time out of us, but it's still something that we're just passionate about, so we like doing stuff. That's why we're doing it. Yeah, we kind of like, sometimes people ask how many countries you've been to, how many countries you've
If you're
visited.
a travel blogger, you're supposed to,
You're
give
like,
this
I've been to like
amazing
80,
number.
80 countries in the
Well,
world.
this number is relatively small for travel bloggers.
Because we prefer quality for quantity, and we stay with a minimum of 1 month in one place, because that we find is the number of time that allows us to kind of feel how to actually be in the place rather than just like take a picture and go somewhere else. And last but not least, we have a group in Vkontakte, that's like the Russian version of Facebook, that has around 45,000 subscribers, that grew organically out of my desire to share with the other people something that I've been finding online, which are volunteering opportunities around the world. And this voluntary thing is something that actually helped us to launch a lot of our other projects. And about sharing and volunteering is a big topic that we'll get talking about later on a lot as well. So the lecture is more like a meeting rather than just us talking. So you can ask questions if you have throughout the lecture. We're going to be answering them and covering some topics. So who went to work today? Can you raise your hands?
Oh, just get work today.
Okay.
Okay, almost.
I work from home.
Well, that's
Yeah, that's
Today,
the question.
today.
You digitally went there.
So who
Digital nomad.
worked on their own projects?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's actually a very good number.
I work from home.
Have you tried, out of the people that were working on their own project, out of these
Or
people,
wherever you can work.
yeah,
your job
whatever.
as
Do you think that your job can be done from anywhere in the world, or you gotta stick to one place?
well. Raise your hand.
That's two questions in one.
Raise your hand if you think you can do that.
Yeah, you can do it from anywhere in the world.
Uh-huh. 3 people. 4.
4 or 5, okay.
Okay.
There are certainly some jobs that require you being in one place and working in a certain conditions, but out of my experience, there are a lot of works that you don't actually think that might be switched to remote, and you can actually try doing that, especially right now because we're living in an age where a lot of things are becoming digital, and a lot of employers as well, for example, even if you're not working on your own projects, a lot of employers are allowing people to work remotely, and that is something that actually led to rise of the term digital nomads. So we've been doing remote work and traveling for the past 8 years, and the question is, can you actually travel and be productive? And the answer is no.
So you go.
Thank you for the lecture. Bye.
So you go there, like it's a different time zone, everything is new, food is new, the mattress is not like at home, there is no place to plug your computer, I mean at least you don't know where it is yet, and the socket is not like that, believe me, and the electricity is different, money, and like all those things, that's a lot, that's very overwhelming.
So basically, there's a difference between travel and actually living and staying in one place. That's why, for ourselves, we decided to choose the format of traveling all the time, but traveling for 1 month in one place rather than going somewhere for the weekend. Because when you travel somewhere like for the weekend or for the week, you want to experience the place. You want to see all these like sightseeing places around it, and you want to experience the people that are living there, you want to try the food, you want to do everything, and you basically don't have enough time to do your job or do your project, and yet overwhelmed. You're either working or exploring the place. But when you're staying in a place for a longer time, you can share this month between working in some place and then visiting a lot of like sightseeing things that you want to do.
So basically, digital nomads are people who are using technology and internet technology specifically for work, personal stuff, and everything basically.
There are different things that are people doing as digital nomads, but again, as I started in the beginning, there are a lot of skills and trades that you can do while traveling without being a digital nomad and opening a computer. But usually, if you are referring to digital nomads, it's a lot of marketing, social media management, design, web design, building websites, coding, architecture, actually, people are doing that as well.
Digital architecture or like physical
Physical,
houses?
I was surprised as well. We know
Yeah,
people who do that.
Yeah, we actually helped a
Amazing.
person to get a job in Sri Lanka who's an architect and just went there and got her job there building hotels. So this can also be done. But I mean, like, it's not as flexible because you'll have to stay longer in one place. But basically, a lot of skills can be applied to that.
So top question we got asked every time is, what's your favorite country? Like, that's what people think we have. There is one country when everything's there. It's warm, it's like beautiful, you know, there has to be that country. Well, guess what? There is no such country. And so we believe that there are places which suit you the most at this given time and which suits your goals, right? So there is no one thing. So when I feel I need some creative energy, we go to New York, I can do my fashion internships, we can go to Metropolitan Opera and enjoy all those things. But then, you know, New York is a very tough environment to be in, and then you need to go to Sri Lanka and relax for a few months and just, you know, surf and enjoy the juice. So there is a cycle.
This way of living is shifting your way of actually perceiving things, and in general, the way you start evaluating everything around you. Because you're not just spending time kind of like, okay, I gotta work this job, I gotta pay for my apartment accommodation because I'm gonna be living here and working here, but rather you're evaluating something from the perspective of, okay, so right now I'm gonna be in New York, I'm gonna get the most out of New York, but then I wanna make my teeth done, and it's actually much cheaper if you do it in South America or Sri Lanka, for example, so you can fly to Sri Lanka, put 2 crowns for $200 and then fly back to New York and save a couple of $1,000 by doing that. And my crowns are still there, if you're asking me. Sri Lanka is actually fine for that. So this actually shifts. Another thing is the question that people ask you sometimes is, where are you from? Because at this point, this question is a little bit irrelevant
And
for
you're
us.
like, and they're like, what's wrong with them?
Because it's hard to say where we're from, because originally we spent most of our young years in Russia, but then we're now getting citizenship here in the States, but then we're spending half a year in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia, so we're not really from any place at this point, but we like the question where you're local at, because that question is actually telling the person what place you know and what place you can tell other people about. And this kind of blurs the whole cultural borders that you have in your head and between the countries in a way as well.
Right, some scientists bring it even further and they say that at some point digital nomads don't really know what homeland is. I personally don't agree with that. I associate with being Russian a lot. Like I'm very proud of being Russian, and I'm not even that embarrassed of my accent anymore. So yeah, but that happens. I can see that for some people in the future, even if kids were born in families who are traveling and being digital nomads from the very little age, maybe for them it would be a big issue. What is homeland?
Yeah, and we've been telling all these beautiful things about how amazing it is to switch places, like do your teeth in Sri Lanka and things like that. But definitely there are some downsides of the lifestyle that we have,
What would be your guess? What is the biggest downside of that?
What do you get to see in New York?
in Brooklyn.
France?
No, we're renting.
No, we're renting places, yeah. But we're not leasing, we're doing Airbnbs.
So how far in advance do you have to plan each move?
That's actually a good question. We usually, about the plans and goals, we're gonna tell a little bit later, but usually our year is planned a year in advance. So we know everything until next September right now. We're gonna be,
Is the biggest challenge the fact that you have to rely upon each other for company, like for like real deep friendship?
Oh,
that was a good hit.
What,
So,
any other guesses?
yeah.
Not being able to have a pile of stuff.
Pile of stuff. I got over it at some point.
I like piling up stuff, so I think you. Actually, that was a very good point. One of the main things that we experienced is we're missing in this way of traveling is community. And when we switched to this lifestyle and we started traveling, and we've been traveling for a couple of years into that, we realized that it's very hard for us to build stable relationship with the people, because as soon as we go to some other place, we lose the connection, and we go to a new place, we got to establish new relationships, and it's not just also about the fact that we got to establish them, but in some way you're meeting random people, and we kind of been lacking some more meaningful connections with the people that we really want to get connected to.
Right, but also there are friends which you have from, school and all that, and that, I mean, they're very dear and near to my heart, but those people cannot really share your, well, first of all, way of living and values. So at some point when you express them your difficulties and you're struggling with something, they're like, are you serious? Like, don't tell me you're struggling there on the Kopanjan Island in Thailand, so like there's this thing which is, you do have a meaningful connection, it's some sort of way, but you cannot call them.
It's not as deep.
It's not
yeah.
a community. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not shared values.
Yes, so community is something that we realized we're missing, and we tried searching for it for people like us that also travel a lot, and we couldn't find it. And with us, if we cannot find something, we build it.
There's not a lot of
So we built our own community. It's called Smena Station. Smena means shift or change in Russian. And we just realized there are a lot of people that do that, that travel like this. And if we're going to bring them together, and if they're going to share the same values, we're going to have more meaningful relationship, and more, what's most important, we'll be able to meet them in other parts of the world, in other places that we go to and they go to as well, and still maintain this meaningful connection together.
Right. So the mission of Smena Station is happy and healthy living for location-independent professionals as norm of life. This norm of life part is very important for us because it's not stigmatized, but it's definitely not the norm. People don't think we're normal. For the longest time, our parents thought something is wrong with us and we're gonna settle at some point. Well, nowadays they're good. They figure out that we're not gonna settle down. But in general, this is what we need day by day. People telling us that this is not normal. This is just a period of life. So yeah, we're trying to build a project which will bring community together and spaces. Like we need a space, like a physical place which made for people like us, which is comfortable to be in.
Yeah, so basically the Smena right now is, one of course is a community of people that travel, and then it's a network of co-livings. It's kind of like intentional dwellings. Co-livings, co-working spaces, because everyone who's in the community works remotely or has their own project. And also it's something like a summer camp for adults, because we run in sessions and then people come for a 2 or 3 week period. And there's a framework that helps to kind of like try the life of a digital nomad and see if it works for you. And then you can actually get connected to the people in this time as well. And actually recently, we kind of like, it was a trial and error. The 2 or 3 week period was a trial and error for us. And then somewhere I read that there's like a certain number of hours that you gotta spend with a person to get closely connected with him.
Wait,
and
is it 30 weeks?
it was the hours, but basically it's the 3-week period that we're having. I'm like, wow, this is actually working, not just because we thought it's right. And important thing about having a community and building it is having the same principles, the same values that people are sharing. And there are the two main ones that all of us share that are coming is, first is giving, because each person that comes shares something else with another person. It's a workshop, a lecture, something that you guys are doing with the PotLuck University here. It's a kind of like amazing that it's same thing in a way. I'm so excited about it. So sharing knowledge is one thing that we all do. And the next thing is expressing yourself.
Which is kind of sharing in a way, right? So
yeah.
basically, to build a community and around yourself, you have to invest your time and energy. It's not always easy to interact with other people and with a big group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So staying on the at the table and like, investing yourself is very important.
So these two things, these two values that I just mentioned, does someone feel that is something that you already heard somewhere and it reminds you of something?
Yeah.
What is it?
Where's another 8? Where's another 8?
It's Burning Man, exactly. Burning Man is something that inspired us.
Expired?
Inspired us. Expired in a way as well. Inspired us to create the project, but the funny thing is that we didn't think about the principles when we were creating it. We kind of like realized 3 months into the project that it's just something that is actually happening and that people are coming are sharing, even though most of them have never been to Burning Man because they're coming from Russia and it's not as common to be there as people that are living here in the States. And we're like, okay, this is something that people are sharing, let's actually implement it on a daily basis. So we kind of put it out there and we're sharing every session we have a presentation about the values of the project and we specify that these things actually came from there and it's amazing and you guys should try it out. So sharing your values is very important for building a community and expressing yourself is very important for building a community. But how does all these things get connected to like traveling around the world and doing things you love? Anastasia.
So I personally believe that travel is the best way to find yourself. That when you're on a road, there is no place for masks and fake stuff and some patterns you use in everyday life. Because you have to adapt. You have to be flexible to what's around you. So there is no time to figure out all this bullshit we usually do in the society. So traveling just for the sake of traveling doesn't make really any sense. We tried that. You cannot lay on the beach for more than a month, believe me. It's really boring, and I believe as humans we're made to produce, we're made to be creative. So if you see if you take a look at like Goa and all those places where people
Banyan, Bali,
right, so people go there since what, like 70s and 60s, and there are lots of small businesses, coffee shops, restaurants, yoga places. So when people came there, they saw those beautiful places, but they wanted more. They wanted more than just nature. They wanted some infrastructure for themselves. So what happened? They built it themselves because there was nothing there.
Yes. This leads us to the topic that we touched briefly earlier is goal setting, because the way we created our projects is basically through setting the goals, and especially the project that we mentioned before, the Smena was inspired by Burning Man, but then at some point we were just driving in a car from Boston to New York, and we're like, okay, we gotta set the goals for like the next.
Well, we were thinking, we just moved to US and we're like, we can do anything basically, but what do we really want?
Yes. Who sets goals? Who has the practice of setting goals?
No.
Not many people. A lot of people think that actually setting goals is something that keeps you kind of like in certain frames. It leaves no kind of like way for being creative, for allowing something amazing to happen in your life.
True.
Exactly. Setting the goals is something that keeps you concentrated on certain things that you would like to achieve.
Right,
And-
it helps to maximize the result.
And for example, I imagine that all of you have certain dreams that you would like to achieve, maybe a bucket list that you want to do. And these are basically almost goals that you already have. The only thing that you need is splitting them into smaller pieces and just start achieving them and getting into them. Because as well, something that we learned in the past 5 years of traveling is that if you have some thought in mind, if you set a certain goal and you're really like thinking about it all the time, the universe somehow changes and shifts and you're like, wow, I just thought about this thing and it actually starts happening. And it's amazing, but it actually works.
Right, but in order for that to happen, your goals have to be said or written in a certain way. So there is this SMART technique. Anybody knows that? So your goal has to be measurable. What's the first one? It has to be specific, very specific, as possible. So I don't want to write a book. I want to write this big of a book, you know. I'm not going to be writing a book. I'm going to write 10 pages a day. In that way, specific.
Measurable.
Achievable?
You gotta be relative.
It has to be relative to all other goals. You have like bigger goals for a year, for 2, for 5, for 10. It has to have a time
frame. Yeah, time limit. So that you gotta think of, okay, so I'm gonna try doing this by the end of this year. And this way, by kind of like putting your dream into this goal, you can actually start achieving it and making small steps towards it.
Right.
We set the goals for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and even 10 years. And this doesn't stop us from like crossing out some of the goals we put before and saying like, well, actually, I put it in, I tried thinking about it, I tried working on it, and it's not working out. It's not something that I actually feel inside myself that I want to do. And that's when the self-expression comes, because you kind of like reflect on things and you think that, oh, these are the things that I actually like and I want to achieve, and these are the things that are not relevant for me anymore.
Right, finding something you really, really like and you enjoy is actually a pretty hard task. We all think we know what we enjoy, but if you think of it, if you try to be very, very specific, what brings you joy, it's if you know it and you know for sure, for a fact what it is, you're very lucky.
Yeah, because if you want to go and travel the world doing things you love, you got to understand what are the things you love first. What's up, Alex?
You guys set short-term goals, like daily goals?
Yes, we have a meeting every day for short-term goals. We have a meeting every week.
More like tasks.
Yeah, we have a weekly meeting where we discuss, what's going to be the week, what it's going to be about, what we're going to do. We have meetings for 3 months planning, and then we have one big meeting every year where we, for 3 days, where we reflect on how did it go, what we achieved, what didn't work out, and then we plan for the next time.
We work with our family as well.
We do it with our parents.
Yeah, we do goal setting with the family, we reflect on things with the family, and we try to push our parents into reflecting on things and them setting goals of what they want to achieve next year. And it helps us to be connected together. And also, for example, we try to travel more with our parents in the past several years, and we talk them through what they want to do this year, what things they want to discover in life, and where they want to go together with us, and we try to make it happen together.
And it also works very well for two of us, since we have our business together and we live together and we met when I was 19. So, we cannot just hope that we love each other so much that we're going to be together for the rest of our lives. So what we do, we're constantly talking and we're trying to make sure that our goals are synchronized. And even if we want different things, we're trying to see how we can, combine them together and make it work.
Yes.
Can you provide an example of daily goals?
Yeah, so basically, for example, by the end of the year, we want to, we want to double the sale. This is more like a business thing. Example, we want to like double the sale of the ornaments by the end of this year. So we have a certain task like do the Google ads, do some like more like marketing things.
Right, but there is a difference between goal and the task, right? So there are tasks. Tasks are small things I need to do.
So daily things are more like tasks. They're not goals,
Right.
but they are connected to the bigger goals that we have.
Right, but might be, you can have a goal, for example, we don't work on Saturday. So the goal might be, I wanna, reload, I wanna refresh, I wanna, my goal today is relax.
Or more
and do
specific, not work related, we wanted to go to Burning Man again this year. And in the beginning of the year, we set this goal, go to Burning Man again. And we were like, okay, what are we gonna do for that? We gotta find the camp, we gotta apply for like the tickets, for any way to get it. And basically we have these tasks, we have a program, an app on the phone, it's called Wonderlist. We put the tasks in there, and through that we're gonna like go through the list and see what goals we have, and then we see what tasks we have that are connected to the goals. So yeah, pretty structured.
I think it's very important to understand that sometimes I'm struggling with something, I'm like, whoa, it's not working out, and then the easiest thing to see whether this aligns with my five-year goal. And I'm like, well, what I'm doing right now is not gonna bring me where I want to be. Like, why even bother? So you think that I thought I need to do it, but then I don't really need to do that.
We're also trying to do the daily, I call them tasks, not really goals. The daily tasks really small. Like you need to send an email,
It has to be as
put
specific
a
as
task,
possible.
send an email by the end of the day to this person.
And Wonderland
then you should-
list makes the sound like when you achieve something. I'm telling you, that's the best thing in the world. It's like,
Wonderlist, is it application you
Yes,
use?
it's an app.
Also, you're doing it in a digital, not like on a piece of
We do it on we do the yearly thing on the paper just because it feels nice, but then we put it digitally as well because it's easier and we don't like to carry around all the piles of papers.
Can you describe your typical day, not during these 3 months of your work?
Okay,
that's
so.
gonna be hard because it also depends where we are.
Can you remember?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are they different?
Also, our year is divided into 3, how do you call it, trimesters in English? Trimesters, yes. It's a 4-month period, and now we're in the last 4-month period with the ornaments. We're basically working September,
This is the
October,
work
November,
part.
December. Before we were in the summer period, which is the time when we work on new projects and developing projects. And the first period is kind of like relaxing after working on the ornaments for 4 months. Okay, let's think.
So we have components which must be present in the day. So we do lots of physical stuff. I would say we either surf. If it's the first.
Let me just do like a very specific example.
Okay,
for example, we were in Hawaii in May this year. We were doing a project for a farm in Hawaii. We were doing a video for them. Video production is one of the little projects that we do. It's kind of like a little company that we have. So we were doing a video production for them while living on their farm on the Big Island. And we wake up in the morning, we cook breakfast, we sit around, the 2 of us sit around the table, set the tasks and goals for today, then we go into the garden, do some physical exercises while working in the garden as well, because we like working in the garden, like
And it's
working
very
in the soil.
important because we work behind the computer a lot, so you don't want to be stuck behind the screen.
Yeah, and having physical exercises during the day is actually very important in general. Natural physical exercises as well, we're very into that instead of just doing a workout. This is also good though. Then we have a period of time when we work in front of the computers, like going through emails and stuff that we got in the past 24 hours. Then we work on the project that we have physically in the place, like filming a video, doing some little pieces for the video that we're filming for the farm. After that, usually we try to finish by like 4 or 5 in the evening. We go and watch sunset. We like watching sunsets. After that, we have a dinner, and we prefer having dinner with the community that we're staying in. The farm was like that as well. We had a dinner together. That was amazing. And
Well, in the evening, we might have some community exercise.
yeah, we're going out.
sharing,
Yeah, we're doing
So
something.
when you work in the garden, it's volunteering work or?
We didn't have to do it, we just.
Yeah, it wasn't part of what we had to do. We just liked doing that.
Just volunteer.
Yeah, but we do a lot of volunteering work exchange as well, and though we're mostly doing it with our skills and not physically working in the garden or something like that, because we mostly do video production as a work exchange and volunteering thing that we do for the projects. So yeah, these are kind of like the goals and the tasks that we're working with, and this is something that helps us to achieve something that we want to get by the end of the year and we want to reach. A little dialogue.
Well, I feel like everybody's inspired by goal setting, so this is unnecessary, but let's do it anyway.
Okay,
So
anyway.
this is from Alice in Wonderland. What road do I take?
Where do you want to go?
I don't know.
Then it really doesn't matter, does it?
I just want to get somewhere.
Somewhere you're certainly going to get. You just have to walk long enough.
So yeah, the idea is if you don't want to get somewhere, you want to get to a specific place and with a specific goal, then you need goal setting.
Yeah, without the goals, you're definitely going to get somewhere, but the question is where. And the question where you want to get and finding things you love is a very complicated question. It's probably one of the most complicated questions people ask themselves throughout their lives. And I find that, for example, for me, what happens? Well, I'm selling Christmas ornaments, I'm doing video production, I'm traveling around the world, but I'm a master of international space law. I never studied to be a videographer, traveler, or doing like Christmas ornaments. I studied in Moscow, I finished my master's degree, and by the end of my master's degree, I'm like, it's just like, it's not something that I want to do in life. I spent like 5 years doing this. Yes, it sucks that I spent 5 years doing this, but I don't want to spend the next 50 years doing the same thing that I don't like. And finding something that you're actually passionate about can be very hard, and there is one tool that we discovered that can actually help you. We're not saying that it's definitely going to, but it's something that at least you can start with and you can try.
So we all know that in Japan, people live very long and very high quality, I would say, life. And this is what, so there's this Okinawa island where the, what you call those,
Super agers.
super agers live. This is what they use. I'm not sure they use this as a tool, but they definitely know it's called ikigai, a reason for being. This is basically something which makes you jump out of the bed and like be very passionate about what you do and do it, you know, just because you want to do it. So how that works, you have to do 4 circles or 4 columns. In first one, you put everything you love. It can be, if you are going to do this exercise, you can do anything.
You love skiing, for example.
You love food, you can, I mean, anything which comes to mind. And then in the second one, you write down something you know people need. I know for a fact people need communities. I know it's very important, that's my knowledge. So in the third one, you can write down what you can or already paid for, what people ever paid you money for. And the fourth one is what are you good at. So the idea is if you combine all those 4 things, in the middle it's going to be your reason for being. So it's not your mission, it's not your passion, it's not your profession or vacation, right? It's something bigger than all those 4 things. It's reason for being in life. Because there is, if you think of it, there is a difference between mission and passion, right? Because mission is more about what people need and you like, and you're passionate about it, and you love it, and that passion is something you're good and you you're good at and you love, but maybe you're not getting paid for it, right? So it's like a
there's a good example that I heard somewhere is that in Japan there was this lady that didn't know what to do with her life, and then she did ikigai, And it turned out that what she actually, her passion for life is folding clothes. And
Like,
what-
what's this famous, the Mary something lady?
I don't know, I don't remember her
It's
name,
crazy.
but basically she found that Ikigai with like folding clothes in a very certain and beautiful way, and she actually made a project out of it and a business out of it, a successful one too.
I'm sure you guys heard about her. She's very famous.
So it's,
Decluttering lady?
What was that?
The decluttering lady?
I'm not sure. So basically, Ikigai is something that anyone can try, even if you already have your passion, like you found it, and like your reason for being is already there. You can try doing it out of curiosity. It's just a fun thing to do, to reflect on what you love in life and what you think is important. So you found something that you love. You found your Ikigai. That's just like, step one is done, you're happy about it, and you're like, okay, so what do I do now? I have no experience in my Ikigai, like how do I do that? The next thing that worked for ourselves is doing something without asking anything in return.
So when you don't have anything, the best thing you can do is you give something. Or if you have something, you give out even more.
And like I finished my master's degree, and I'm like, well, okay, so I want to go and travel. I want to explore the world, and I want to learn something new. How do I do that? We went to Philippines and to a Buddhist monastery in Philippines in Manila. It's like a skyscraper in the middle of the megapolis. It's quite an unusual kind of monastery. But anyway, we spent 3 months there teaching kids English and doing cartoon making and doing some workshops for them. It was an amazing experience, life-changing and all the things. But one of the very important things that we got out of there is the fact that we realized that the more we give and we don't expect anything in return, the more whatever is out there in the world, the universe, is actually giving us in return, starting from the physical things, like we came there just for volunteering, they just gave us like room and board and we just gave lessons to the kids. But by the end of the trip, they're like, okay guys, well, what do you want to do? We're like, okay, we want to do diving. And they're like, oh, you know, we just booked a diving trip for you for tomorrow and you're leaving tomorrow. We're like, wow. And we were leaving and they just started giving us like dried mangoes, some like souvenirs and stuff, and just like a lot of physical things.
So I think at that point, universe was not sure that we're smart enough, so it was very literal. We're like, we like mangoes, and they're like, here are the 5 kilos of mango. We're like, okay, must be we're doing something good.
But it wasn't just the physical things, because
We
for
learned how to
example,
play instruments, calligraphy, this thing.
I mentioned before that right now we're doing video production, filming videos, some for projects, some for money, and some just as like a volunteering thing that we do. But we never done it before. Before this exact trip to the Buddhist monastery, we had a camera, I knew how to do editing on some basic level, and the Buddhist monks were like, guys, we really need a video for our center. And the Buddhists are usually not really pushing you into anything.
They're
just like, kind of like,
very
okay, they're not
chill.
judging, they're not really pushing you. But these guys are like, we really need a video. Why don't you make us a video? We're like, okay, we have everything. Let's just make them a video. So we made this exact video for their center back in the days. And this is something that started the whole video production thing that we're doing right now out of just volunteering trip that we did without actually expecting it to really like change our lives and give us like a new skill that we would apply to our travels later on. So you never know what's going to come from your volunteering trip, because when you give, it's a lot of things that you can receive in return.
Yeah, but as I mentioned, we also learned some Chinese, yoga, everything possible about Buddhism, meditation, calligraphy, and I think we got another very important insight is that when you travel, you actually travel not to the place and not to the country, you travel to the people and actually meeting new people and being surrounded by people who share your values is the most valuable thing in life.
So, I'm going to have some Chinese music in the background. So basically, the volunteering trip really changed our perspective on things and realized that, okay, so you can gain some experience on something that you think you're passionate about just by going to some place and offering your skill and your time to other people. But also an important thing that we learned is that when you go to a place and you offer something to other people, you get a community around you, because around any project there's a certain community, and around the people that give, community builds even faster. That's why I believe that there's such a big community around Burning Man, because burners are givers, and around givers there's always a community being built. So imagine you're assembling 70,000 givers at the same time in the same place. You build a community immediately. That's the same principle we applied while building our own community of digital nomads and travelers. That's why we have this skill sharing thing, because when you give, you immediately build people together.
How do you find the place in the project that you...
The place in the projects. There are a lot of ways of finding places in projects. I mentioned before that I have this group in Vkontakte with like 45,000 subscribers. I started putting all of my finds of different volunteering projects and opportunities just out there for free for all the people at some point. And people started subscribing and looking at it. And I just realized that, okay, I'm finding them anyway. I go online and search some websites. There are whole actual websites that are posting volunteering opportunities. And I was just giving them out there, and people started assembling around that. So there are just like regular companies in Google searches, you can do that. There's Helpix and Workaway. These are the two big websites that have some volunteering opportunities there. Some Russian resources at this point right now as well that are doing this, but it's just starting to develop.
There's one just for farms, it's called Woofing.
Woofing just for farming, but I mean there are some like regular ways that you can use it. For example, when we were traveling to Morocco in 2016, we were like, okay, we couldn't find any volunteering there, but we really wanted to go to Morocco, like learn how to surf and spend 3 months there, like in a cool, fun place with fun people around.
So we just emailed every surf school on the coast.
I just bombarded every surf school with our emails and suggesting that, hey, we're going to come and we're going to film a video for you in exchange for like board, accommodation, and surf equipment and surf lessons.
So there is difference between volunteering. So volunteering is technically counts only for charity organizations and non-profits, and there's helpers.
Yeah, like woofing, like Workaway.
Right.
It's more like doing something in exchange for the work in business, for profit, an organization for profit. Some people think it's like modern slavery, which I really think is kind of ridiculous, because it all depends on what you actually want to get out of it, and it doesn't really matter if it's actually money or something that you want yourself.
Like when we were, we had this one video we had from this for the Buddhist monastery. So, but we wanted to proceed with the video production. So we went just to send different other places, and then we had an international portfolio with extreme videos, with hospitality business commercials. So we had a really cool portfolio which we built in like half a year with like zero investments. And that actually was really funny, because that helped me to get to New York Fashion Week, which was big thing for me. And like I don't think I could have done it some other way. I really appreciated that at that point.
And community is really useful tool in a lot of ways. I'm starting to realize, especially this year, for some reason it's kind of like really falling on top of me, is that community gives you a lot of things when you go to a new place. First of all, it gives you the people that you can hang out with, it gives you company, it gives you comfort. Second of all, if you're traveling to a new place and you're diving into the community that feels that you're a part of it, it's sharing all the best ways to live in a place, the best places to go to eat for like a cheaper rate, the best place to rent a car when you're living like, I don't know, in Southeast Asia, you want to rent a bike, they're going to help you with that. And as soon as you dive into the community, you get all these things. On the other hand, community is the best tool for self-development because through the community you can see yourself in a different way. The community can give you a different perspective on what you're actually doing. And I mean, you can just learn things from people sharing their knowledge with you and sharing their thoughts on any project that you are actually doing.
And you don't have to go abroad in order to volunteer and do all those things.
Yeah, you can get connected to any community through that, yes.
So how do you dive into a community if the community doesn't speak the same language as you?
That's a good question.
Have we ever been to like this community that actually doesn't really speak at all?
It's really hard. It's almost impossible because you basically cannot communicate. That happens when you do help and work away in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Because some people in poorer countries they don't really speak English. It's almost impossible to connect. I do project in Sri Lanka and I'm helping women to establish their small businesses. Because all husbands died during civil war, so they're all left alone with their kids. So we're trying to help them build some sort of income. They speak no English, and the only way we got connected is because they saw how hard I work. When they're not, when they come, I work. They leave, I work. So like this is the only way we were able to energetically kind of connect when they saw it and they realized I'm doing it just because I want to make a difference. Without language, no, it's not working. That's why we started the digital nomad community, because you can only connect to a certain degree.
Yeah, but also I feel like community is kind of like a family that you can choose. So you can actually be picky about the community that you want to become a part of. And also it's very important in my perspective is because I feel it's correct that if you want to become someone, surround yourself with this kind of people. And if you want to like learn something as well, surround yourself with people that know the skill or trade and you're going to learn it eventually. So it's kind of hard without actually being able to connect and to talk. So I wouldn't really choose a community that doesn't speak my language at all or any language that I know because it's going to be hard to connect with them, and connecting is important. Any more questions?
Yeah, I had another question. I actually came across through some social media and stuff with probably the company that you heard of, the remote here.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any professional or business connections with those guys, or like are you trying to also get into the are you guys trying to introduce yourself onto that level of the business and the need that you have found, or are you just trying to do separate things?
Just like to get all of you on the same page, Remote Year is a company that offering you a travel for you're basically paying the same amount of money like each month.
I think it's like $2,000.
Something around $2,000 a month, and they are arranging a full year for you to travel around the world to like visit certain places. They arrange accommodation. I don't know if they arrange the flights though, but they arrange the flights as well. Yeah, so the flights, accommodation, and some sort of community. I think they're.
So they travel as a group. They spend some I think it's a month right in one place, and they all together move to a different place. It's very different from what we do, and there are a few reasons why.
First of all, like the Remote Year is a great commercial project. It's actually, the guys are doing a good job, and I in a way I like what they're doing, but I think that the value is much lower than they're asking for it, because they get, for example, especially like when you compare the level of prices for like accommodation in like, I don't know, Argentina, if you're traveling with a year to Argentina or Southeast Asia, for $2,000 in Southeast Asia, you can like live in a castle, and there you're just like living in a room with other people.
It's nice. I mean,
It's okay. If you can afford it, it's okay.
Well, the problem is that it's not really traveling because you are surrounded by people, and when you travel, from my experience, when you travel with a big group, you don't really have an urge to go and see what's out there. You stay inside the group, so it's not really traveling. And then on the other hand, it's not really community, which makes your life richer, because there's only certain type of people who can afford paying $2,000 a month and travel that way. So basically, what they end up with, this is my knowledge because like we're in the industry, so we talk to other people about it. So what they said, the problem is very sterile. It's the same basically people.
Yeah.
So they are most likely web developers, like programmers from Europe, and they're boys. That's their target, like this is what they get. So it's basically they're not really interested in meeting each other because they have the same background, just because it's quite pricey.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's a good project. You still get a community. You still, I mean, it's very easy because everything is basically solved for you for the rest of the year. It saves you some time. But I think like our main goal is building community. Their main goal is creating a comfortable environment for you to not to think about any travels for the rest of the year. So kind of like the goals are different, and the pricing is also like completely different.
Yeah, their pricing is really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, because like we're not really we're making enough money on the ornaments. We're not trying to make money on the community.
There are easier ways to make money than building a community.
Yeah. So like staying in our place in Thailand for 3 weeks costs $230. Staying in their place for a month costs $2,000.
Well, though it's a very different accommodation too.
Yeah. So community is a key to a lot of things, and finding your community can help you find things that you actually love on one hand and actually travel to a different place.
Should we answer the question Alex asked what the family is?
Traveling with the family and kids. Yes. It's something that we've been asked a lot, is that, okay, this is like, you guys don't have any kids, you can go and travel, like you don't know. We don't know, we don't have any kids. But that's what we actually tried in Montenegro this spring, because we gathered the first session of Anastasia for families in Montenegro this year. We assembled, we got 6 families together. They all had kids, and they had the same framework as we do have for our regular gatherings in
They
other
had
locations.
workshops, they did their job, they had workshops for themselves, they have workshops for kids, they had somebody watching kids while they
Yeah, it
were
was kind of
working.
like communal bringing together of kids, but of the people that share the same values and trying to actually work at the same time. And actually we had a long-term goal with Sienna when we were goal setting the project in the beginning, because we thought, okay, so we don't have kids now, but we're going to have kids in like several years, and then they're going to have to go to school, and we might still want to travel a lot as we do right now. What are we going to do then? And we realized that if we're going to have a community that will face the same problem that we faced, that we're going to face at that time as well, and they're going to have kids as well, we're going to solve this problem somehow, because when you have like a group of people doing the same thing.
We don't have all answers,
Yeah.
but we have an approach that if we have a community of people facing the same problems, we're going to solve them together.
And basically we already started slowly doing that through the session in Montenegro that we had. We're going to have one more in Thailand and one more in Bali this spring. And we're going to bring more families together, and we'll try to make it work and see what ways of raising kids and like schooling them. Like, is it like going to be a community school, maybe like a combination of homeschool and some online education? We don't know, but we're trying to make it work somehow. And I know families that do that. There are families that are traveling, and yeah.
Oh, zo'n way I see it is like homeschooling.
Yeah.
Because you
A lot
travel
of them are doing homeschooling, I
but
feel,
that means
yeah.
that you have to dedicate a lot of your time.
But again, if you have 6 other families with the same, with kids, you know.
Well, that's if you go to your specific community. But if you go for another 3 months you want to spend in Sri Lanka when you don't have anyone,
Well, you're gonna be
right? Then,
surprised there.
oops.
Yeah,
You
that's,
either have to go from base to base.
again, communities in general, not just our community. Communities in general is the key to getting people together, and if
And
people
they
are
do
sharing the
exist.
same values and
There are
values.
schools in Kobanyan, there are.
Oh, it's schools everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean.
But they also need to speak some certain language.
No, there are
Yeah.
schools for
Yeah, there has to
expats.
be the same system. They have to speak the same language. There are complicated things that we will be facing anyway, and well, we'll try to make it
No,
work.
make notes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes.
Are there any sort of communities that do like group homeschooling and that like they travel and like one set of parents is really good at teaching math, another one knows English really well, another one knows history? Are there any communities where like they get a different skill sets
So
of
I don't
parents?
know of the traveling communities of big families with kids that do that on a yearly basis. I know that there are schools in places like, again, like Kopanyan, Goa, and people go to downships, and there are a lot of expats. There are places like that that do that. But it's basically they live there on a yearly basis, or at least like 6-7 months a year, and they're doing that. So it's definitely out there. It's not something that like, it's not regular, it's not normal, a normal thing that people do all the time. But we believe that it's definitely something that is possible. There's like my favorite quote that I usually give, and it sounds like, make interesting decisions and you're going to have an interesting biography. And that's something that I've been following for the past several years, and I believe that, well, it's definitely going to lead me into an interesting place. Yeah, and a little inspiring story to wrap it up.
So we were traveling in India in Bodhgaya. This is the place where apparently Buddha got his enlightenment. And it's very interesting. It's like I physically felt like something is very different about that place. The energy is just like, it's booming there. And it's also very funny because it feels a little bit like Buddha's Disneyland, because there are different branches of Buddhism and they're all there and they all do different things. So there is this one particular tree, Bodhi tree, and pilgrims, they go around the tree and they
Pray,
chant,
meditate,
yeah,
chant, yeah.
do their pilgrimage there. And sometimes the leaf falls down from the tree and like they pick those leaves and they keep them as souvenirs. I thought that's pretty cool. I would, like one to keep. That's a fun thing to do. And so I sat down and I was like, well, I don't want to grab it from the floor, but what if I just fold my hands like this and I'm going to wait till the leaf, for the leaf to fall just on my palms, just
Yeah, I know. I was there and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's physically impossible because the tree is there, you're sitting over here, it's just like, it's just not going to work out. And I started laughing at my wife because she was like, so silly.
And this exact second, I see like the leaf starting to fall down and it's fall like, like in the movie, like slowly in the slow motion, it's falling down and landing right in front of me, like 5 meters there.
Yeah, but it's not into her hands, and I'm like, I'm starting to laugh, and I'm like, you see, like it's not gonna happen at any point. And this same moment, the Buddhist monk passes by, he bends down, takes the leaf, and puts it right into Anastasia's hands. And I'm like, okay. I will always listen to my wife. So, yeah, nothing is impossible. You guys will be able to make it as well if you want to. Just set the goals, find a community, and
That's pretty much it.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Good luck. Thank you for your... If you have any questions, we'll be super happy to answer.
Can you talk a little
Yes,
bit about
Sierra. Oh,
business?
sorry, yes.
Like how you, like the 3 months that you were working, is it in one place and you are producing these ornaments? And then you're trying to sell them in the same 3 months? Or,
Okay, so we started, we made a little collection of ornaments as a gift for our friends and family, like something like 7 years ago. We gave them to them, they liked it, and we're like, okay, we'll try selling it. We tried selling it at the market back in Russia. It was back there. We tried selling it at the market there. It was a huge success. People liked it, and we started growing it there. And at some point, we decided to move here in the States because Anastasia, she won the lottery, and we're like, okay, maybe we should actually move. It was a good timing because the crisis struck in Russia at the same time as well. So we basically moved to the United States, started the same business as we did there, here in the States, and we left the whole business side in Russia to our parents. And before, my mom was saying like, you cannot do crafts for a living, like it's impossible. And now our two families are employed by us basically, making ornaments back in Russia, and it's actually selling much better than we do here in the States.
So both of our mothers were housewives?
Yeah.
And so now Nikita's mom is in charge of production and my mom is in charge of sales. Let me tell you, it was a dramatic change for them. It changed their life, the quality of life. But most importantly, it brought two families together, his and mine. They're very close together. They talk every day. They meet every day. And it brought us very close to them. It's very important because we only were there for a month a year. And then like, well, let's say another month we're traveling together. So it's basically 2 months a year. That's not enough time to spend with your family. So by doing something together, we talk every day. I mean, who else talks to their parents every day, right?
I do.
We do. These are good examples.
I do.
Cool, yeah, that's awesome, guys. I'm actually, if I wouldn't knew that gonna happen, I think we would have left earlier. Now we're very close, and I'm very proud of our relationship.
It's not an easy thing to do though, doing business with the family. I'd say it's very challenging, so if you would decide to do that at some point, because you get really like close and connected, and there are a lot of things that you can have different opinions on, so you gotta have the tools to work through those things. That's why the goal setting that we do is important. The talking through all the little things that everyone likes and doesn't like, and getting common things is very important. It's challenging, but it's amazing.
But also having one goal for big family as like a plan or something, that's very inspiring and it gives me, this feeling that I have lots of people.
In a way, it's a traditional way.
What's that?
In a way, it's a traditional way. All the small businesses, homeowners,
And the community is the way we used to live. Before, now community is an addition. We talk about it as a luxury, but before, community was a necessity.
Yeah, people lived in villages and tribes. Right now we live in tiny apartments by ourselves. It's not something that we've been doing for our whole life as humanity.
You can be independent, you can work online, have this Amazon Fresh delivered. You don't have to interact with people. But before, you had to have people around you. It was a matter of survival.
Back to the production side and doing things. Yeah, basically we're managing the whole business, both the American one and the Russian one, remotely, and our parents are overseeing the production and doing all this stuff back in Russia. And we have, it's all handmade. So we have people making the still handmade back in Russia that we're hiring. Though here in the States, we're still making the ornaments by ourselves because the amounts of sales that we have is much smaller compared to. In Russia, we started production in like April, and here we only do it since like starting August.
And so you do it in like one specific location?
Well, we sell online. We sell online a lot, and we do a lot of holiday markets because Christmas is the time when people buy a lot of presents and a lot of gifts. And basically, most of the businesses that do retail and especially the gifts, they make, I think, in December they make the same amount of sales. In November and December they make the same amount of sales as they do the rest of the year.
So why bother doing it the rest of the year?
Yeah, we just realized that we're not going to do it the rest of the year.
It's a good example of Pareto rule.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, Pareto rule.
Applies to everything in life.
Yeah.
So Pareto rule when 20% of
effort gives you 50% result.
50% result.
Exactly.
Yes.
Do you have a picture of the ornament that you made?
Sure.
Can we see them?
You can open that one. Yeah, my laptop.
I don't know where the pictures are.
You answer the question. I'm the techie.
I'm really
Oh, somebody wants to see the ornaments.
Yeah. And I also very much like the bad dad, bye bye bad boss.
Oh, bye bus?
Yeah. And I can relate to that.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because now people send us those things to post, right? We don't really have to go look for opportunities to work and volunteer because people send us them so we can post them online. It's incredible once you, because when Nikita started, I was like, what are you gonna do with it? You're just gonna post those opportunities for free? Like, well, there is no money there. Like why? But then when we started Smena Station and we had 40,000 people following us, we're like, well, we made this project. They're like, yay, okay. So this was a really, really good base for us to start. So each ornament has a wish depending on the flower inside. For example, dandelion. Now it's a sales pitch. Dandelion is a symbol of harmony. So this ornament will bring you a very harmonious year.
Yeah,
So,
it's like a kind of like a personal gift that you can match with the person.
right, we wanted to make something so you can buy it, and even though it's commercial, you still can find this very particular one which you want to give to a particular
Do they
brand.
stay alive?
They are
They are dehydrated, yeah. So
They stay like that.
Yeah.
How do you get the dandelions into
That's the most common question.
That's great. Don't
And I'm not going to tell you.
No, have some
secret.
Yeah.
Trade secret.
I'm an idea. Not revealing trade secrets.
But that's amazing how people love those stories and how I actually believe it somehow connects to goal setting because they're like, I'm gonna buy this and I'm gonna lose weight because dandelion is gonna be a symbol of lightness for me. I'm like, sure.
Give me money.
If you need an ornament for that, be my guest.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that people are coming back and saying, oh, it actually came true, I want to buy something.
Yeah, I want to buy something else.
Let's do it.
We have one ornament which helps you get rid of traffic. On the
Does it look like a machine gun?
Have you had any problems with copyright issues, like people copying your work? And
No,
things?
because it's so goddamn a lot of work.
Yeah.
So nobody else wants to do that.
I mean, we've seen Chinese
those
things.
Chinese
there are things that are kind of like.
So they
similar in a way.
found the easiest one to make with the woolen side, and this is the only one what they were able to copy. Actually, I just recently found out about it, and of course it's like 500 times cheaper than what we make, but they will never be able to. Make
I'd say
something like that.
it's not really about the ornament itself. It's a lot about like the wish and the whole the way we were selling it, and because
We
we're
grow flowers ourselves and then we dehydrate them.
Yeah.
Our grandmothers are growing flowers, so you have to be us in order to do this business. You
Also,
cannot do it any other way.
I feel that if you find a way to sell things, it's actually probably half of the success
those are
of any
beautiful.
project. And we found a way that works for us, and doing the markets is an amazing thing to do. And we like it. And also, another thing that we like in the seasonal projects, I highly advise anyone to start a seasonal project, because if you're doing something year-round, you get burnt out at some point. If you're doing the same job for like 10 years, 20 years, you're going to be tired of doing it. But if you have a seasonal thing, you're doing it for 3 months, then you're super tired of it, you're done with it, you don't want to see it for the rest of 9 months, and then you're like, I kind of miss this feeling of like craziness that I have during the holiday season.
Yeah, I think the question of motivation is the most important question. Like, you can do basically anything in the world. You can do, I do believe that there is no limit. It's just the question of why and what motivates you, what's your path, like what drives you to jump out of the bed. And if,
Yeah, there are a lot of seasons. Like we're doing the Christmas, the holiday season. It's a lot of things, a lot of sales. There, the summer season, a lot of things are just working in summers. like all this thing that happening like on the beach. People do that for the summer season. There are a lot of niches that you really don't realize that exist, but you can actually make money there. For example, we were just in San Francisco, and there was this meetup, and I met this guy, and well, when I usually tell people what I do, that I sell Christmas ornaments for a living, they're like, wow, this is like, how do you do that? I didn't know that you could do that. And I met this guy, and he said that, I asked him what he does for a living, and I was expecting to receive the usual answer, like, yeah, I'm a designer, I'm like a code, do coding and stuff, especially in San Francisco. But he's like, oh, I make money. And I'm like, okay, like, interesting, let's see. And so this guy, he has a company that is making those coins, the silver and gold coins that you can buy basically the silver and gold in. And his clients are countries because they are the only ones that can actually issue money. And he's basically making limited collection money, that coins, like huge silver and gold coins for countries. So he has like 200 clients, that's the maximum number that he can have in the world. And he's doing it successfully, and that's it. So there are
192 countries.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's not
Recognized by the US. There's a few unofficial ones. Currency is not being recognized by the US.
I'm just struck by the metaphor that you were doing those as a gift. Like you were talking about, if you have nothing, start giving, and then people get. And so it just occurred to me that if you were trying to decide, like, what kind of toy can I sell for Christmas,
Right.
you probably would not come up with this.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks, that's a good approach.
Yeah, but you got positive feedback that people actually want it, and then you sell it. So that's actually, I really like.
We also made them for ourselves, you know, like this is the best projects are made out of your own pain. You know, like if you struggle with something, most likely there are other people who suffer with the same thing, and you can help yourself and them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, in general, like one of the big philosophies in life that we follow, that I follow at least, is I believe that everything in life is a flow, PotLuck. And in order to get something, you really need to give something. Like for example, if your cup is full, there's no way to fill it with something. You gotta empty it first, then you're gonna have some space and you can fill it with something else. And that's why you gotta keep giving. All the time you gotta keep giving, and you're gonna be receiving at the same time.
And it works with everything, especially with money. If you feel like you don't have, if you feel like you need more money, you have to start.
Knowledge, money, energy, yeah.
Otherwise, you have too much stuff in your apartment to travel with.
Yeah, if you need too much stuff in your, you have too much stuff in your, get rid of it. Yeah, throw it away, donate it, don't throw it away, donate it. Yeah, definitely gonna help.
Yeah, question of consumption.
Yes.
I have a question about your video making. So when you said you first started, you had no experience, but so did they expect a professional video from you? Did you have an equipment for making this, like kind of a professional video?
Yes, so we had the camera. And
I was doing photography.
she was doing photography before, but we've never done video. And
so it was a professional camera.
It was good enough to make this video. Yeah, and. I feel like they didn't expect anything. Being Buddhist on one hand.
That's hilarious. We made a poster and we were like, do you guys like this poster? And they're like, thank you very much. We're like, is it a yes or no? We appreciate your work. We're like, okay, but does that work? They're like, well, thank you so much.
Good effort.
That's hard.
It's hard.
That was Buddhist. Yeah.
Can't set release the golden.
So yeah, we didn't really have a lot of experience, but it worked out for us. Yeah. Yes.
So you guys have been traveling a lot and like definitely escaping that burden of stuck in the same place, in the same office, in the same city for a while. So when was the last time you had stressful day, and like describe your stressful day, the last that you can recall?
I had a stressful day this Wednesday. Actually it was Monday because it was Tuesday in Thailand, and it was the first day of we're opening this new location of Singapore in Thailand. I'm realizing that there's a lot of things, because there was a storm, and the only way to get to the island is on a ferry, and because of the storm, the ferry couldn't get there, so a lot of furniture wasn't delivered, and the people are already coming, and I'm like, the house is half empty, what are we gonna do? And I was actually freaking out, because I'm responsible for people feeling comfortable there, and I was pretty stressed about it, and it was kind of stressful. Yeah.
And now, which house are you were you going to furniture?
The location for the co-living, the Smyrna station that we have, yeah, we're opening.
So yeah, we're opening them. We don't have to go there in order to open them.
Yeah.
We actually never been to, I think, 3 out of 5 stations.
Yeah,
We've never
we're
been
doing everything remotely with people that have already been there. Something like that.
Work on the chip itself.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, it is coming
Yes,
down.
yes.
Hopefully chairs are gonna arrive.
With the snow, we can go.
Well, I had a stressful day when the big account dropped us because they were late with dates, and this is like 7 stores around Russia. It's a very big account, and I was like, it was not my fault, so there's nothing.
Or
in
that
the
store.
right?
Yeah.
No, they sell perfume actually, and we sell them.
And I mean, there are like stressful days without work as well. There are like weird things that are happening sometimes. For example, we had this crazy story in Morocco, and because I got this food poisoning there, and we went to the hospital.
Only once in 8 years.
Actually, yeah, we only had 2 food poisoning in 8 years out of all the travel through Southeast Asia, like in all the weird places. And we went to the hospital, and they started. They took our passports because they want to make a copy. But our insurance company actually sent us there, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna run some tests. I'm like, okay, fine. And then they, at some point, this lady comes in, the nurse comes in, and she puts me on a wheelchair, and I'm like, okay, fine. If you want to do it like this, I'm gonna sit in the wheelchair. And then she puts the drip. Inserts it into my hand. I'm like, I'm not really feeling bad at this point. I just want to run some tests, and she speaks something in Arabic. I'm like, okay. Did the doctor say that you should do that? She's like, yeah, doctor said. I'm like, okay, if the doctor said it's fine.
And then I receive a call from insurance company, and they're like, Anastasia, we're gonna do our best. Everything is gonna be fine. And I'm like, what exactly are you talking about? And like they're under impression that Nikita is like almost dead, that he's like in this extensive care.
They started taking me. They put me through how do you call it? The MRI. They started I had like a food poisoning, and they were doing like all sorts of tests that insurance company would pay for. They were like all. So basically.
And we had the train leaving in like 40 minutes.
Yeah, we had to get on the train too, but it was pretty crazy. And they had our passport. That's the thing.
Oh.
So we started arguing with them that they should give our passport. We started saying that we're gonna call the embassy and all this stuff. And at some point they gave us the passport. Anastasia somehow got the passport back, but they didn't want to take the needle with the drip out of my hand.
That was very smart.
Wow. And I'm like,
Rip it out.
Huh?
Rip it out.
I had to take it out.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I had to take it out, and it was so scary. This
Rip it out.
long, it's like, it's like this long.
And Nikita in this blue robe, you know, like
Yeah,
with this thing, and we're running away.
Almost kind of like running with my butt open, like Marrakesh. That was actually stressful.
I thought they can, because that's the third world country,
Yeah.
right? They're hardcore there.
Yeah.
I thought they're gonna chase us and like take us out of the
Yeah.
train and all that. So.
But that was the only bad medical case that we had. So actually,
like
the insurance works fine.
That's a funny story.
So that was kind of stressful.
That was very stressful.
So we do have
Who's the provider of
stress. It's just a different kind of stress.
So who is the provider of your insurance? By the way?
We mostly use travel insurance, and we still have Russian passports, so we use Russian providers. Though it's international companies, it's just like we're paying to a Russian company. The Russian insurance company is
So it doesn't really matter who insurance is. It's important whose assistant company
Yeah,
is.
basically.
Well,
This is what you
calling.
have to check
Yeah, and
where you
where
buy.
you-
they're
locally.
international, yeah. And yeah, I mean, that one was weird, and they like were saying sorry for a long time.
Who censored
The insurance company, the hospital didn't care.
So they recommended that hospital.
Yeah.
Oh, the insurance company.
They didn't
That's
know.
weird because they got charged then.
Yes.
They probably could dispute.
At least they-
Well, maybe the brother of a brother, just knew.
Well, they said it's a little bit wrong that way. They
Especially in
said
Russia,
that's
this is what they do.
how they do it. So.
It's a Moroccan thing.
How many languages do you speak now?
English, Russian. I speak some basic Chinese because I studied in university, but I never practiced it. And a bit of French that we had to learn because in Morocco they don't speak English, so we had to learn some French to communicate. But it's also very basic. So English and Russian actually works.
That's it.
Yeah, in most of the places.
And I think in the topic you mentioned like 10 places or countries you'd recommend to start with.
Oh yeah, that's actually good. So the places I would definitely recommend is, well, I mean, first of all, again, it doesn't matter where you go as long as you find a place to go, a project in the community.
And you know why you're going there.
Yeah, and make sure that they speak the same language because you'll be able to communicate easily. But in general, it's easier, especially if you're really like switching from your regular job, especially here in the States, and you're going to start traveling, you really have to get a new perspective on the way you see wealth and like valuable things in life.
Well, yeah,
Back
let me
to
tell
the affairs, the new rich in general, like how you evaluate things, what you're gaining out of the $1,000 you're earning. Is it the $1,000 you're spending just for your room, or is it for $1,000 you're getting the room in like Southeast Asia, and then you can afford a lot of other things.
And the way, so when we live in America, you kind of get comfortable and you believe that this is what normal is. Well, let me tell you, this is not normal. Nowhere else in the world people live that standard of life. I would say 70% of the world lives very different from this. So this is not a standard. That was a huge discovery for me. Actually, the world lives very different.
What the difference?
Huh?
What the difference?
Well, there's no Amazon. no 2-day delivery for free. Like, I don't know, in Thailand, as I just mentioned, a lot of things haven't really arrived because there's like, they just work with a different pace. They don't care about a lot of things. And we ordered 12 chairs and only 5 arrived. And it's a very common thing. It's not really, yeah, I mean, Amazon happens as well in this thing, but in general it's different. The approach to living is different.
Well, time doesn't exist in Morocco. They just live, and then some things happen, and some things don't happen.
Yeah, if you want to schedule something, it's not really happening.
We came to the meeting, and we were drinking tea for 3 hours before the meeting started. And we were like, oh, and they were just sitting there drinking tea. It's just the way it is.
You gotta drink tea before you do something.
Right, but I was talking about just the comfort of living. Like you don't have to have how many square meters in the house you have, unless you do it at PotLuck University, right? So like we feel like if you want to be well established, you have to have a huge house and all the 3 cars and all that. And then other people live very
Where do you live? Do you rent some house?
I'll just answer Alex's question and then I get down to this one. So the places that I would recommend to start with is the places that have a much cheaper rates in general, like Southeast Asia, Thailand, specifically Koh Phangan or Chiang Mai, because these are the not tourist places without like any like crazy drunken Russians. They're just more like yogis and downshifters and people working remotely. So you have a community already there. Thailand, Sri Lanka right now, it's pretty good, but it's very undeveloped. We've never been to South America. I heard that a lot of places in South America are great as well, like Guatemala and Costa Rica is expensive now.
Peru is
Ecuador, Peru.
Peru is very
So there are also communities there. You can find a community to go to as well. Morocco is actually great, not if you don't go to the hospital. And
it's very different.
Well, you have to take that into account in every place. How good the medicine is. Do you have any special diseases which you have to,
There's
Try to
some
avoid.
things that you gotta take into account.
Well, yeah, that's also part of our life because we have to prepare for all those trips. You have to buy tickets, you have to book accommodation, and it does take a lot of time, this preparation part, even though by now we know.
Yeah, that's why it's better to travel once for like 3 months rather than doing several trips because you gotta prepare for all of them. You spend a lot of time doing that. So infrastructure, yes, so cheaper countries, Southeast Asian countries are a good bet. But I don't know, what else?
I think Russia is a great travel destination.
Russia is a great travel destination, actually.
Internet is just the fastest in the world.
And it's cheap. It's crazy cheap.
That's what my brother says.
Well, you can probably the same way travel to Minnesota and it will be very cheap compared to
Depends what you want.
and very different,
Depends
right?
what your goals are. If you're making Minnesota startup, then maybe it's a good thing to do.
How
Yeah.
about Afghanistan?
Well, and there are a lot of places, but
Yeah, I mean, be reasonable and see again. Like if you're doing goal setting, you can think like, okay, like these are the countries I want to go to, and that's why I want to go to these countries, and it actually aligns with my goals, and I want to go there. So let's say do it like that. Sorry, what was your question?
So what do you do with the house? Do you rent?
Yes, so we have an apartment in Moscow that is sitting empty as a warehouse because it's not close to the city, so not worth renting it. And we still go to Moscow 2 times a year to visit family and friends and do some paperwork. So other places we go to, we usually rent Airbnb because it's just easier. It's actually works pretty well, Airbnb for
Like
that.
for a month?
For a month, yeah. For 3 months sometimes, for a month. Sometimes you can go to a place, rent something for a few weeks or even for a few days, and then if you go there, you can just walk around and talk to people and find a cheaper rates. Cheaper than Airbnb, especially Southeast Asia, works really well.
So right now we have a project of the plan is to have 3 permanent locations around the world and then travel in between them, like using them as gachas.
Bases, yeah. Not to travel to a new place because it takes time to kind of like get to feel and like again draining a lot of time. So basically, we're planning to buy or rent for long term 3 different places in different parts of the world and then travel between them. But I'm going
have
to
the other one, just a new one every year.
This winter we're going to Sri Lanka to actually buy a house there. It's going to be the first one. And then the other 2 would probably be Russia because we still love it and we still have family there and we're attached to them. And probably the 3rd one is going to be the US, so because we also love it here. And I don't know which state though. Probably California.
How did it happen that you are here?
I won a green card lottery and he married well.
I actually have relatives in Boston. My aunt, she lives in Needham. Also, we were kind of like coming here anyway. But then her mom is friends with someone from RSM. And then through her mom, we got connected to RSM community. And that's how we started going to their camp and teaching kids there and doing videos for them. So it's kind of like a lot of things going on in this put together. So yeah.
As usual.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
last one.
Okay, got a good one. So we talked earlier about the difficulty of building and maintaining long-term friendships when you're traveling every month.
Mhm.
So do you find it more difficult or maybe easier to form relationships knowing every time that it's only for 3 or 4 weeks at the most?
You know, it's. I feel that it's about the way the framework, because right now we were living in a community in California for 2 months, and they were doing a lot of things. We didn't know that they existed. We just came there after Burning Man and stayed there for 2 months. But they were doing the same things and using the same tools that we were using in our project. And these are not something that we discovered. We just read about them and we started practicing them. It's like the check-in that we had in the beginning about like sharing some thoughts and feelings and reflecting on things that are happening to you. And sharing common space, sharing knowledge and giving to other people. So when all of the people in a community are applying those tools, we just realize that it's a great way to get people connected together. And basically in 3 weeks, we get connected at our project, and the same way when we just came to California to this community, in just a couple of weeks, we got so connected to them that right now we're already planning to come back there after next Burning Man in September and stay with them again because we got so connected in just a few weeks. So it's a lot about just sharing and the way you live, and that helps you connect with people a lot. So probably it's easier if you just live with them for a longer time, but again, you can also live with the same people in the same apartment for like a year and not really be connected because you don't have the desire to be connected. And if all of the people that are living together are living there, that's what intentional community is basically. You have an intention of getting connected together. And if you do it, you get connected and you get meaningful relationships.
Well, as always, it depends what the goal is.
Yeah. If your goal is to get connected, you're going to get connected.
Well, I guess that's find your tribe.
Yes. Yeah. Find your community, your family. Yes. Cool. All right. Thank you guys.